Avoiding taking a clear stance on alleged child molester and GOP Senate candidate Roy Moore. That changed today. Kellyanne Conway going on national television to effectively argue that the people of Alabama should stand with the man accused of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old.
Doug Jones in Alabama, folks, don't be fooled. He'll be a vote against tax cuts. He's weak on crime, weak on borders. He's strong on raising your taxes. He's terrible for property owners. And Doug Jones is a doctrinaire liberal, which is why he's not saying anything and why the media are trying to boost him.
So vote Roy Moore?
I'm telling you that we want the votes in the Senate to get this tax bill through.
But the RNC is withdrawing support for Roy Moore. Mitch McConnell's withdrawing support. So is the young Republicans withdrawing support.
And a lot of women.
Right, and you know what? I just want everybody to know Doug Jones. Nobody ever says his name.
Okay. Message here is not ambiguous. It is unmistakable. Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president, says that on December 12th, Alabamans should vote for a man who currently stands accused of molesting a 14-year-old girl, sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl, groping a 28-year-old woman, and dating or attempting to date 5 more teenagers, including calling one while she was in trigonometry class, when he was more than 30 years old. Moore denies the allegations. That person should be elected, according to Kellyanne Conway, so that Republicans can pass a massive tax cut that overwhelmingly benefits corporations and the wealthy. Now, it's a very different message than Kellyanne Conway herself was pushing just last week.
Whatever the facts end up being, the premise is, of course, the principle, the incontrovertible principle, is that there's no Senate seat that's worth more than a child.
No Senate seat worth more than a child. It's profound. So what changed? Well, according to new reporting for the Daily Beast, over the past week, the White House and President Trump's top allies have gone from laying the groundwork to ditch Moore to laying the groundwork to celebrate his possible victory next month. Multiple sources in and out of the West Wing telling the Daily Beast that Trump is being told not to criticize Moore by many of his closest advisors, including both Kellyanne Conway and Breitbart chair Steve Bannon, Trump's former chief strategist, who, of course, aggressively championed the now accused child molester Moore in the primary. President Trump has been accused, on the record, of course we should note, of unwanted physical contact by at least 15 women. He denies all their counts, called them liars, said they were not attractive enough for him to assault. On Friday, the president criticized Al Franken over sexual misconduct allegations, and then over the weekend, he found time to attack a black football player and the father of a black college basketball player. But for some reason, the president, who has opinions about nearly everything under the sun, continues to simply have nothing to say about Roy Moore.
To the media, to the press, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Your thoughts on Roy Moore, Mr. President? Do you believe his accusers? Do you believe Roy Moore's accusers, Mr. President?
Thank you very much.
The White House press briefing today, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked about Conway's comments.
Is that the position of this White House, that voters are better off voting for someone accused of assaulting teenage girls than a Democrat?
Look, as I've answered, I think even for the 3rd or 4th time just today, as well as 10 or 15 times on both Thursday and Friday of last week, the position of the White House hasn't changed. We feel like the people of Alabama should make the determination on who their next senator should be.
But she made a clear suggestion over who they should vote.
And I'm giving you the answer, the position of the White House.
For his part, Moore gave a radio interview this weekend in which he suggested that Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell is part of a conspiracy to discredit him.
I believe with all my heart, Mitch McConnell and the establishment are in cahoots with the Democrats to stop this campaign.
His Democratic opponent, Doug Jones, has surged in the polls in the wake of the Moore allegations, but the race remains close. Yesterday, the 3 largest newspapers in Alabama ran identical front-page editorials arguing that Alabamians must show themselves to be people of principle, reject Roy Moore and all that he stands for. This morning on NBC's Today Show, Lake Korfman, who says Moore molested her when she was 14, offered her first on-camera account of what happened.
He basically laid out some blankets on the floor of his living room and proceeded to seduce me, I guess you would say. And during the course of that, he removed my clothing. He left the room and came back in wearing his white underwear. And he touched me over my clothing, what was left of it. And he tried to get me to touch him as well. And at that point, I pulled back and said that I was not comfortable, and I got dressed, and he took me home. But I was a 14-year-old child trying to play in an adult's world, and he was 32 years old.
Roy Moore denies these allegations and further says he does not even know you.
I wonder how many me's he doesn't know.
With me now, Republican Congressman Leonard Lance of New Jersey. Congressman, do you believe Blake Worthman?
Yes, I do, and I think that Mr. Moore should not be elected to the United States Senate.
Do you think Alabamians should vote for Doug Jones?
No, I'd like to see a write-in, and I would suggest Martha Roby, my colleague from Alabama, who is a conservative Republican, and I think a very fine member of the House, and would be a fine member of the Senate.
So, but you think, unlike the White House, you're willing to take a stand and say that he should not be in the race and that people should not vote for Roy Moore based on what you know about him?
Correct.
Do you find it astounding that the president, who has opinions on so many things, he shares them with all of us all the time, has no opinion about a man who stands credibly accused, and you believe the accusation, of molesting a 14-year-old girl who bears his party's imprimatur, who still has the nomination, the endorsement of the president, as far as we know? The president has nothing to say about that. Do you find, what do you make of that?
I hope the president speaks up on it, and of course he had endorsed Senator Strange in the primary, and I wish that the senator had been renominated.
Do you believe the women that have accused Donald Trump of touching them with that?
I have no reason to disbelieve them. I think in both the Bill Clinton case and the Donald Trump case, it was a behavior before they were president, and President Clinton got into trouble based upon behavior while he was president, and I hope that this president conducts himself in office in a higher standard.
So your idea is that it was before Election Day, that's just bracketed away?
Regarding presidents, I think that we've elected these men as president recognizing their faults, and let me say that I try to lead by example, and I certainly have tried to conduct myself in an honorable manner, and certainly as well regarding the office I run.
How do you feel about being, let me ask you this. There are many people who thought, Republicans who thought that Roy Moore was unfit to be a United States Senator before these allegations. This is a man who's been kicked off the Supreme Court twice. This is a man who said that one of your colleagues, Keith Ellison, should not be allowed to serve in Congress because he's Muslim, in direct contradiction of the ban on a religious test for office as found in the United States Constitution. Do you share that belief that this is a man who was unfit before these accusations?
Yes, and I think that there should be no religious test in holding office in this country, and Keith Ellison and I have different political views, but he's a colleague and a friend, and he has a right to serve in the Congress of the United States.
What do you think about when you think about Roy Moore possibly winning this election and you and he serving in the same party in Congress?
He'll be over in the Senate if that were to be the case, and I hope that he's not elected.
Let me tell you something. You're running in New Jersey's 7th district. It's going to be a very competitive district. You know that, obviously, and we can talk about your vote on the tax bill in a moment. They're going to run ads about Roy Moore in your district. If I was a Democratic consultant and Roy Moore was a sitting U.S. Senator, I would say this is what the Republican Party stands for. Donald Trump in the White House and Roy Moore in the U.S. Senate, who's credibly accused of molesting a 14-year-old girl. Is this the party you want to give power to?
I represent a very sophisticated district, and I'm sure the voters in the district I serve will re-elect me based upon my views, and any such campaign, of course, would be demagogic.
You voted against the tax bill.
I did.
You were one of 13 no votes. They say this won't raise taxes on anyone in the middle class. Is that true when they say that?
I don't think it's completely true. I have been fighting for what is known as SALT, the continuation of the deductibility of state and local taxes. That's very important for New Jersey because we have the highest property taxes in the nation.
I mean, just to be zeroed on this, they're saying no one's going to see a tax hike. No one in the middle class is going to see a tax hike. What you're saying, and I think is borne out by the analysis, is that is not true.
I think there will be some who will see a tax hike. There will be some who will not.
Of course.
There will be more who will not, but certainly there will be some who will, and that's why I've been fighting on the SALT issue.
All right. Leonard Lance from New Jersey 7th District, thank you for making some time. Have a great Thanksgiving if I don't see you as well.